From get woke, go broke to the Bud Light effect, describing the process by which a company adopts less than popular products or advertising and then sees their market share rapidly decline. That's what we are experiencing right now with the news story related to Target. The New York Post says Target loses $9 billion in the week following boycott calls over LGBTQ-friendly kids' clothing. The Bud Light effect. Now, you can call it get woke, go broke. That pertains to a lot of things. But what we're seeing now is directly linked to Bud Light. Let me explain. So Bud Light's easy to boycott. Its brand is fairly ubiquitous, but also fairly worthless. To the average person who wants to get drunk, they could certainly buy a Bud Light, or they could buy a Coors Light or a Miller Light, or maybe they could buy good beer. And when it comes to going to a sporting event, probably people don't care all that much about what low quality cheapo beer they're buying. So when it comes to boycotting Bud Light, the average person simply says, I'll take a Coors or a Miller. Doesn't mean anything to me. This has resulted in a stock drop-off and a major sales decline. But you all knew that. But now things are getting interesting. With the success of the Bud Light boycott, companies now fear the Bud Light effect hitting them if they adopt woke policies or sell woke products. In this case, Target very quickly pulled a whole bunch of their Pride merchandise from the front of their stores, removing them outright, taking them off their websites, or hiding them in the back. Publicly, the CEO says, don't worry, we're still with you, LGBTQ community, but they're scared about what regular people will think or say when they walk into a store and see wokeness. Now, this is the Bud Light effect. When people who had invested in Bud Light lost money because Bud Light went woke, they were not happy. And they were assured by Anheuser-Busch InBev, don't worry, things will get better. It's a blip. Over 1 month later, now going on 2 months, the stock has dropped more when it should be going up. Even I thought the stock drop-off would not go that far, and now they've wiped out a year of gains. So what do you think happens to somebody who's holding stock in, say, Target? Let's say you got a bunch of stock in a bunch of different companies. You hear about the Bud Light situation, and you think to yourself, I don't know if I want to hold any more of that stock because it's getting bad. Now, one thing I did point out a few weeks ago was that there could be a cascade effect in the collapse of the stock of Anheuser-Busch. If the stock keeps falling, then somebody who's holding on to it says, I'm cutting my losses, and sells, triggering more sell-offs. Now, people have to want to buy it for sure, but if nobody's buying, the price keeps going down until it finds someone who will. The more the price drops, the more the people want to sell, creating a runaway sell-off where people say the brand is toxic. This is crazy. I thought the stock drop-off would be a few percentage points. I thought sales would stabilize down, and they'd carry on and probably slowly recover from there. But now what we're seeing is, as the news does not stop and the trend continues, Bud Light has become so toxic that they can't recover. You now get made fun of. People are making meme videos about buying Bud Light, making fun of people who do. Here's what happens. When a regular person who doesn't know or care about politics sees the path towards 1 million views and 1 million likes and 1 million followers as mocking Bud Light, they're going to do it. And that creates the cultural runaway effect. Now that people are selling off Bud Light stock because the memes aren't stopping, anybody paying attention is going to be asking themselves, should I hold the stock? Probably going to say no. And the more that narrative persists, the more people are going to want to sell. Don't be the last one holding a hot potato. That's the mentality. So how does this relate to Target? When news of what happens to Bud Light reaches the people, and then they see the boycott targeting Target. I love how that works semantically or linguistically. Then they start wondering to themselves, what if I'm the one left holding the hot potato? That's right. If we perceive stock as being at risk because of getting woke and going broke, people now hearing about the Target boycott may say, look, I don't know nothing about this. All I know is the last time this happened, the stock tanked and I lost 15%. I'm going to sell now before I lose 15%, especially if you've got a lot of money tied up in this stock. And that appears to be what is happening. Take a look at this. Target Corporation, as of today, is down 2.69%. Now, of course, there's a bunch of other stocks, Lowe's, Amazon, everybody's down a little bit. But let's extend this. Okay, in the past 5 days, 10%. In the past month, 11.5. Now, when I first saw this, I said, look, there may be other reasons why Target Corporation stock is on the decline. So I pulled up the year. And while there have been low points, and there have been high points, it seems that Target is now headed for the lowest point in the entire year. That means whatever happened, Target has just wiped out a year of gains in the past week or so. Now, don't get me wrong. They saw some gains. They saw some dips. They've seen some spikes. But what happened as of May 17th, that the stock price went from 160 to 139.4. I can't say definitively. I don't know. Everybody's stock is down a little bit. This happens. These swings happen. But I do believe that we are likely witnessing the Bud Light effect. Because of the mass media response to the conservative boycott, people are like, I'm not going to be the one last out the door. The fire alarm went off. I'm first one out the building. Because the people who still hold that stock may see within the next couple of weeks it go down to $100. Nobody wants to be left holding the empty bag. Things are getting interesting. The success over Bud Light has created a shockwave rippling across the stock market. And people are now starting to realize, I don't want to be on the short end of that stock sell-off. The New York Post reports Target has lost $9 billion in market value since the angry social media users called for a boycott of the Minneapolis-based retailer over its rollout of the Pride collection featuring LGBTQ-friendly clothing for children. A week ago, Wednesday, before the controversy erupted, Target's stock closed at $160, 160.96, so about 161. Given the big box chain a market capitalization of $74.3 billion. As of early trading on Thursday, however, shares of the company were trading off 1%, capping a week-long tumble that has shrunk the cheap chic discount retailer's value to 65.3. Now, they wrote this. It's gotten worse. It's down nearly 3%. That amounts to a 12% drop that has shaved a whopping $9 billion off the company's market capitalization. Shave off another couple percentage because since this article was written, they've gone down even more. Target said on Tuesday it was removing some items from its stores and making other changes to its LGBTQ plus merchandise nationwide ahead of Pride Month after intense backlash from some customers who confronted workers and tipped over displays. Quote, since introducing this year's collection, we've experienced threats impacting our team members' sense of safety and well-being while at work, Target said in a statement on Tuesday. Given these volatile circumstances, we are making adjustments to our plans, including removing items that have been at the center of the most significant confrontational behavior. Here's what you can do. If you have no opportunity to shop anywhere else because Target is the only store in your area, complain. That's it. Politely. Say, can I speak to a manager? Say, you guys have a strong monopoly here, but I will do what I must not to shop here if you are going to be selling these things to children. Okay? Polite. Calm. I would like to formally complain. You can probably complain online. You see, this is a tactic the left used rather successfully forever. But now, because Bud Light, that was the linchpin, these companies are starting to get scared. Look, if a video game company gets woke, it's hard to win that cultural fight because the video game market, while very large, is still not very mainstream. The average person who's going to work, they're not worrying about whether or not Battlefield 1 has a pink-haired woman with a prosthetic hand or something. But some people complain about it. And what does the company say? They say, well, if you don't like the game, don't buy it. And the funny thing happens, people don't buy it. And then they're like, wait, please come back. But ultimately, it doesn't have a big impact on the mainstream. But Bud Light does. And that cracked the dam. Now, when conservatives come out and say, we are going to boycott this product, the most important thing is the companies say, our stock will go down. And if it does, and it creates a cascade effect, we could tank. Regular people are just going to be like, I'm selling off. These companies don't want that. They're going to say, this was just, they said customers knocked down Pride displays at some stores angrily approached workers and posted threatening videos on social media from inside the stores. Wow. That was just days after Target CEO Brian Cornell had defended the LGBTQ minus. I think it's just funny that there's a minus friendly merchandise, saying it was the right thing for society. Well, you're wrong. If people want to live the way they want to live, that's totally fine. If people want to have specialty shops, I think that's fine. But putting prominent displays of a sexual nature in front of stores for children is not appropriate. If they put a busty woman like squeezing her boobs or something, I'd be like, dude, not appropriate. Okay, for kids. There's a line. Y'all are crossing it. You shouldn't bring your kids to Hooters. And that's really funny too, because women have boobs. It's like the fact that a restaurant exists to accentuate the women's boobs and try and make money off it. It's like, that's a line I don't think kids should be going to. And some parents bring them there. Not illegal, but crass and crude for sure. That's the thing I'll say about Target, is that they're going way over the line. Now, if Hooters had women wearing pasties, or their whole menu was predicated upon overtly sexual themes, I'd say that's crossing the line. But it's near. I'd say don't bring your kids there, but they're allowed to exist. They exist specifically so you can go and see boobs while you eat. If Target existed specifically just to sell to the LGBT community and parents wanted to bring their kids there, I'd say probably not appropriate, but you make that choice. As for Target as a general location for the average person, we are seeing parents say no. Let's talk about how spicy things have gotten for Bud Light. Budweiser is giving away its beer for free. Woo! You want to be like Budweiser? By all means, you do it with my blessing. And then you'll have to give away your product for free. But I got to be honest. If I go to a store and I see it says free beer Bud Light, I will take it. I absolutely will. Because we can use it for a whole bunch of stuff. We can break it on camera. We can throw it in the garbage. We can get rid of it. Now, I got to be honest, I probably would not take it. The reason why they're giving the beer away for free is because it costs money to remove it. If you're a business that has a whole bunch of Bud Light in the back, in the storeroom, in the coolers or whatever, you're sitting there thinking like this stuff's going to expire and I got to pay someone, excuse me, to remove it. I'll tell you what. Take it for free. You ever see those things on Craigslist where it's like, free couch, just come and take it? It's because nobody wants to do the work or pay to have it removed. You take it, it's free. Sometimes they'll put it on the curb and say, free stuff. My friends used to drive around looking for free stuff drop-offs or yard sales because people are trying to get rid of things they don't want. They don't want to pay to get rid of it. Bud Light is so toxic right now, they're giving it away for free and they still can't get rid of it. Look at this. 20-pack price, $15. Less $15 QR code. Scan the code, save $15. Yo, this is nuts. It's nuts because before it was like with a rebate. Now the rebate's like it's instant. Amazing. $15.7 billion market value decline. Oh boy. Look at that. I think they have another Beer Not Radio. They say Beer Business Daily editor Harry Schumacher told Fox News Digital the whole industry is in shock over the. I thought they had another picture of the, but I guess not. They say in the latest scramble to return the good grace to the good grace of customers, Bud Light revealed a new promotion called U.S. Budweiser Family Memorial Day Rebate online. They need to get rid of this, ladies and gentlemen. Memorial Day is around the corner. We will not be here Monday. We're taking a 3-day weekend. We're very excited. We're going to go check out the horse races. Have a good time up in the mountains and drink a nice cold beer. A Yingling, probably, not a Bud Light. Here's the deal. Memorial Day is time for grilling. It's a time to go out by the lake with your friends, your family, and enjoy yourself a nice hot burger, extra cheese, extra bacon, maybe a smash burger if you guys do the grill right. Little salt, little onions, crack open a nice cold beer with the friends, throw the Frisbee for the dog. Bud Light. This is a big day. This is their holiday. This is like beer holiday when people are all going out. It's a 3-day weekend and they're going to be drinking. It's the start of summer. This is the moment. The unofficial start of summer. It's not the real start of summer. Kids are getting out of school. It's family time. And Bud Light was the cheapo beer that people would just bring along to have a nice beer with their food. Now, personally, I would not want to drink Bud Light. In all seriousness, I wouldn't. I don't like light lagers. If I'm drinking a beer, I'm drinking a beer. And I'm not saying it's going to be like anything crazy, like it's got to be Guinness. Guinness is good, but Guinness is for its own occasion. No, I think Yingling is good. decently light. I'm not a big beer guy as it is, and I don't really drink all that often, but if I'm going to have a beer, it's going to be something, I don't know, substantive at the very least. It ain't going to be a Bud Light. Now, it especially won't be a Bud Light. With Memorial Day around the corner, they are panicking and trying to get Bud Light out the door. Some local retailers have been offering 15 packs of lager for less than $15, making the products free after rebate, excluding tax and state restrictions. The rebate will be paid via a digital prepaid card, according to Bud Light's site. No way. Is that... Let's see. I've actually not checked the Bud Light website. Let's see. I'm trying to pull it up. It's like, we got to check your birthday. Let's just say I'm 18 years old. There you go. Let's see. Bud Light Blue. We carefully brew our beer. It's perfect. Yeah, they don't really say anything about it. I imagined they wouldn't, because they don't want to they don't want to make a problem worse on their own website. Bud Light rewards. Earn amazing rewards. Yeah, okay, not interested. I'm fascinated by what we are seeing. Target tanking. Y'all are doing it. Now, don't be violent. That's a big no-no, and that goes against our values, what we believe in. Because I'll tell you what works and why it works. The woke stuff, the Antifa stuff, was bound to fail. It doesn't work. It's chaotic. It's destructive. Communism just fails. And here's my view. You know, I was talking about this, and when I say it doesn't work, it's because over a long enough period of time, chaos, destruction, violence, these things result in regular people becoming stressed out. And they say, leave me alone. And they walk into a Target, and it's right there. It's there again, screaming in your face. The people went around smashing windows and screaming, saying, follow us or else. You said, fine, please just leave me alone. And then you walked into Target, and there's the big display, and you're like, why won't it stop? And you say, we're leaving. For regular people, they're getting stressed out by this. They don't like to be shocked. I'll tell you something. I had a lot of fun with my earlier morning segment talking about DeSantis, but I want to talk to you about something else related to rallying people to a cause, and it's called reasonable boundaries. Everybody has a reasonable boundary. It is the line for which they cannot cross in the moment. In order to get them to cross that line, you have to coax them closer and closer to it. Let's say there's a scale. Let's say it's negative 100, 100. And the average person starts at 0. 0 is where you are on any given issue you're not familiar with. Now, for most political issues, let's say it's Bud Light. The average person probably has a moderately net favorable view of beer in general. So they'd say, let's say 100 is very favorable and negative 100 is you absolutely despise the brand. The average person starts off at a plus 10, leaning towards favorable. Don't really know that much about it. Don't really care. It is beer, though. Beer is great. And oh, yeah, I've heard of Bud Light. How do you get a person from 10 all the way to negative 100? You can't just one day walk up to them and demand that they scream and protest Bud Light. They won't do it. They'll say, I don't care. Their reasonable boundary is perhaps the 0 mark. Their reasonable boundary in the positive direction is perhaps the 10. The 20. What I'm trying to say is a person's opinion can only shift so much in one direction in a given amount of time. This is known as reasonable boundaries when it comes to persuasion, sales, manipulation, social engineering, etc. How do you get someone to despise Bud Light? Well, the Dylan Mulvaney thing was probably the most powerful thing that Bud Light could have done because it immediately put the average person from 10 to minus 10. They're not at the point to where they're burning Bud Light in the streets. Kid Rock was, and Kid Rock probably was favorable. But a person like Kid Rock, a person like us, our reasonable boundaries are different when it pertains to political issues because we're very, very, very active in it. So our reasonable boundaries pertaining to political issues is wider because we're already angry and our boundaries are already negative. So what happens is the Dylan Mulvaney program puts Bud Light instantly in this quadrant where we're already very negative. They jumped right into it. For the average person, it pulled them negative to where they're like, I don't want to buy that. I don't know much about it, but I'm not going to buy it. This is the important thing people need to understand when it comes to marketing, because recovering from this is damn near impossible. For those of us who are already entrenched in political culture war issues, Bud Light is now negative 100. We are like, we're not touching it. We don't like it. The whole company should go under. How do you get us back to 0 where we're neutral on the brand? They announced this veterans program they're doing, camo cans. It moved the needle 0. If they were to come out and apologize right now, it would only move them up to like a negative 60, right? We'd be like, well, that was good, but we're still really angry and don't want to buy them because it's been too long and it's falling on deaf ears. My point is this. You can't convince someone overnight, but boy, howdy did Budweiser do the absolute worst thing imaginable. And this is the Bud Light effect. Negative marketing. Pride has become negative marketing. Your stock will suffer when they embrace this, is the message being portrayed in the media. We know a bunch of companies are going to put up the pride flags, and that is going to be brand toxic now. So I wonder if the Bud Light effect will have serious will hit Pride Month, as they call it. With all these brands changing their corporate logos, they run the risk of seeing a major stock drop off when regular people say enough. Because for the average person, they have been shifted into the negative on this ideology. If you want to associate your brand with a negatively viewed ideology, your stock will suffer. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is the scary thing. Whether you want it to or not, whether people care, the fear now exists within the population that this stuff will cause stock prices to fall, and no one wants to hold the hot potato. I talked to a lefty activist in like 2015. This woman, her family owned property in New York. She was woke, and I said to her, if a black family moved next to one of your buildings in New York, would you sell it? And she said, and she's woke, and she goes, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, really? I was like, you just said yes? Because we were talking about systemic racism and things like that. She said, yes. And I said, yeah, is that racist? And she was like, it's not about that they're black. It's just because the prices will go down. And I'm like, you're making the price go down by panic selling because a black family moved in. What she explained was, it doesn't matter if people are good or not. The market acts this way. And I said, the only reason the market acts this way is because of blockbusting. It's because of the racist policies from back in the day. You got to break the cycle and say no. It's ridiculous that you would say it's racist. She didn't care. It was funny to me. And this is where I'm just like, the woke people are nuts. They go and they preach all day and night. But when it's their money being threatened, they will absolutely be racist. For the longest time, the perception in the housing market has been that if minorities, not just black families, but any minority family moves in, the property value goes down. Blockbusting is when people would move minority families into white neighborhoods, then solicit people saying, oh, there goes the neighborhood, better sell now before it's too late. They would buy all these houses at a premium discount because people would panic. Then they'd kick out the black family and sell them all back at a premium markup. Evil. We made it illegal for a reason. My point is simply this. Woke people don't actually care. And so if the perception becomes in the market that if you adopt wokeness, your market value goes down, just like that woke woman, they will sell. Let's see where this goes. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.